Hi, welcome. So now we're looking at this crazy age of Trump and the tariffs, and well, lots been said really. So what else can we do here?
The administration put tariffs of 145% on most Chinese imports.
A tariff on tariffs. I always say tariffs is the most beautiful word to me in the dictionary.
What we can do is be a little bit more clear-sighted. What we can do is think with our head and with our heart to try and understand and make sense of what's going on in the world around us. Because I think it's a really big mistake to try and see this from an economic angle. This ultimately is not an economic play, and if you're seeing this through the numbers game of trying to make the tariffs add up and trying to make it into something which clearly is not sensible, you've got the wrong approach. It's not about money, it's about power. That's what the tariffs are really about. And what Trump represents here is an attempt, let's see if it's successful or not, to restore American power and to restore American primacy. And that is what Trump has always done. Make America great again. What does that mean? It means America is number one in the world, it remains number one in the world, and it is unquestionably number one in the world. This is what the tariffs are really about. And as such, what they represent is the end of the Industry 3.0 reality of globalization. Globalization has been around for many centuries in the form of the world connecting together, but we can identify the period after World War II, and especially after the fall of communism in the 90s, that was really the hyper-accelerated global era, where you produce goods in maybe Asia, you'd sell them in the West, and this was really a model that was seen as global efficiency, and it benefited a great many people and has essentially built the world as we know it today. But this world has come to an end, and that is why what we are experiencing is seen to be like an apocalypse. The apocalypse is derived from the ancient Greek term which describes the end of the world by the shattering of all illusions. So what we are seeing here is the shattering of the illusions that built up through globalizations. The delusion that America will tolerate and allow the fact that its economic and industrial power base will be transported from the American heartland, from America to somewhere else, for example, to China. This is not going to continue. And what we are seeing here is a decisive action by the leader of the United States to bring in a new world order and a new approach. Now, will he succeed? What happens? That remains to be seen. But what I think is really important is that when we try and level up our thinking to try and make sense of this complex chaos that we're in, we have to start with the right rule set. And if your rule set is to believe that reality is about a global order and in which parties trade with each other, and that's going to always be that way, and everyone's going to be friendly and happy and nice to each other, that's not reality. That's not what's going to happen. That was a period that we've been able to enjoy, a period of relatively large peace and prosperity, but that period has come to an end. We can see that war has returned to the European continent. We can see that America now recognizes China as a legitimate competitor to its role as global hegemon, as the undisputed leader in terms of economic, political, and military and industrial power. And it's going to set about making sure that it continues to rule. So when you're thinking about how to respond to tariffs and what may be happening going forward, what you can bet on is that it will be putting America first. President Trump was elected with a clear mandate. He has the largest popular vote. He defeated Kamala and the Democrats extremely decisive in the Electoral College. He has the Congress, he has the Senate, he has the White House, and he has broad support from most of the Americans. If you peer beyond the noise of what is being generated by the media and you start to see what ordinary people in America think, they support the tariffs. It doesn't matter to them that large corporations and Wall Street falls apart. There are people in America who are really struggling, and they're struggling because the jobs that they once had have been outsourced to many other parts of the world. Furthermore, there is a critical vulnerability in America in which it's not able to produce, for example, its weapons and other key industrial capabilities that it needs in order to be able to secure its future. And so what we're seeing here with the tariff regime is a decisive signal to the world that the old ways of working are not going to continue. So it's really important, I think, to be able to snap out of that, the expectations of that old reality, that things are going to go back to normal and that this is just a blip. It's not. And it's not even about Trump himself. As we say in German, it's about a Zeitgeist. It's about a spirit of the times. And that's what Trump really represents. It's a change in the way in which the world is working that's very fundamental, and we need to move with that change if we are to be able to keep up and remain relevant. And so that's why really I want to present to you this difficult to understand concept that it's the end of the global order. It's fragmentation. What that means is we have, as is put, the two big brothers fighting. It's a world of America versus China, but it's also a world of the rise of the rest. What that means is that there are many other stakeholders now who are in a position to connect and collaborate. It's a much more open playing field. We have countries like Vietnam, which has 100 million people, Indonesia, which has more than 200 million people, Bangladesh, 200 million people, Egypt, 100 million people, Brazil, I believe it's over 150 million people, and there are many more countries like this. So what this means, as the global world ends and the two big brothers are competing with each other very aggressively and intensely, there are many more opportunities that are arising for the rest of us. But that's going to require a new way of thinking. And that's why it's so important to understand that this also represents an innovate or die reality. Now, let's break that down. The death element break is the old way of things working. If you're going to rely on that to go forward, it's going to be very difficult because those old rules are not going to be the new rules. What is in fact happening is a new way of thinking is emerging, but there's also different facets to it. There is making sure that America remains the greatest, that's from the American perspective. We're also then seeing a decline in Europe, or maybe it's the beginning of a rejuvenation. We're seeing China assert its power. We're seeing, as I mentioned earlier, new powers rising, what I call the rise of the West. And so this is a really actually exciting time if you are able to generate innovative capacity within your organization, within your people, within your culture, really. So what that means is you can't rely on the old way of doing things. Instead, what you have to do is generate new opportunities and new ways of doing things. And that requires a certain amount of spirit, a certain amount of courage to leap forward into this new, messy, uncertain, complex chaos and see what you can actually find there. In order to be able to do that, you're not going to be able to rely on management thinking. An MBA is not really going to be enough to help you to navigate this complex turmoil. You need to embrace the spirit of innovation, which is inherently about action, it's inherently about exploration, it's inherently about trying new things and daring to test them out and not knowing. It's about learning quickly, trying new things and iterating through that to finding the right solutions. There's a wide variety of ways of doing this, but fundamentally, it's about recognizing that it's not the time to complain about the tariffs. It's about recognizing we're going into an inherently uncertain future. And as such, the best way to navigate an uncertain future is to create that future. And that's really what the power of innovation allows. It allows you to create the future as you build the innovations that bring forth the reality that you want to see. So as was famously said by Sir Winston Churchill, never waste a good crisis. And this is really what we're seeing here, is this is an epic crisis. There are, of course, a lot of people out there who are very scared and very worried. And this is a really challenging time. And this is as much about thinking and with the head as it is with feeling with the heart. The way forward here is not just to have clever ideas, it's to have the compassion in the heart, to listen to what's going on, to feel the fears, feel the uncertainties, feel the anxiety, feel the worry. And by absorbing that and listening to that, that can give you a sense of where to go next. Now, as part of that, it requires clear navigation. What that means is that you are feeling the emotions of the heart, but you're also having the clarity in the mind to find your way forward. It's important to have the head and heart united and the strong spirit behind them that leaps into action. So that's really my final thought here on what it means to deal with Trump and the tariffs. The end of the world is happening. What that means is the end of the global order as we knew it, in which anyone watching this video growing up will have known that world order. It really is truly coming to an end. The end of the old, it makes space for the new. What you need to do is embrace the new by committing yourself to innovation. Not innovation as an afterthought, but innovation as a fundamental aspect of your organization and its culture in order to be able to generate and build the future. To do that, you need to listen with your heart and think with your mind. You need to combine the head and the heart together, because that will give you the emotional energy as well as the clarity you need to find your way forward with a strong spirit. It is going to be difficult, it is going to be challenging, but it is a great crisis, and in every great crisis there is a great opportunity to go forward. So I encourage you to make sure you're clear-sighted, feel the fear, and use it to mobilize you to act greatly.